In the last episode, we cleared out the engine bay and gave it a thorough cleaning so we could apply a fresh coat of VHT roll bar and chassis paint to the El Camino's frame and suspension. Now that the engine's back in, we're going to give the headers a brand new look with VHT's Flameproof.
Today we're continuing work on the El Camino project. Now the motor is in finally, so that's looking really good in there. We have it all painted up. We use the VHT Wrinkle Plus on the valve covers and other components. We use the VHT roll bar and chassis on the frame and the firewall, and everything is coming together great. Now speaking of coming together, the next step is the exhaust. We have to paint the headers that were on this engine, and for that we're going to use the VHT Flameproof. So Mark and Bill are on the table over here. They have the headers off. Doing a little bit of sanding because these things are in pretty rough shape. They had a lot of rust, so they're just using the 80 grit to get that rust off of there. Once they're good and clean, or I should say once they're good and sanded, we use the grease and wax remover, clean them up. Next will be the primer, because we want to make sure that we're protected from the rust, corrosion, to make sure we have a good foundation for the Flameproof. Alright, so Mark and Bill have these headers completely cleaned off and degreased, and now what they're doing is taping off the exhaust ports. We don't want an uneven surface where the gasket is going to mate, because therefore we might have an exhaust leak. So it's good to tape these off, leave the paint off that surface so we have a good clean surface there for the gasket. So Bill's laying down a couple of light coats of the VHT Flameproof primer. These headers were extremely rusty. This is going to allow for a good surface for the paint to bond to, maximum corrosion resistance as well, considering how rusty these headers were. Now these headers are looking great after several coats of primer. Now we don't need to cure these just yet until we're done with the top coat. For that, we're going with the Flameproof Black. And the process is going to be just like the primer. 2 light coats followed by 1 medium wet coat. So Mark and Bill laid down a couple coats of the Flameproof primer, let that dry for about 20 minutes. Now they're applying the Flameproof Black. These things are looking really good. Now once these are all said and done, all coats are applied, we'll go ahead, bolt them back on, and we'll let the heat from the engine cure the paint.
In the next Project El Camino episode, we move away from the engine to start work on other areas of the vehicle. Our first step is removing the old calipers, drums, and components so we can restore them with Dupli-Color's caliper paint.
To keep up on the latest from Dupli-Color, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and visit Dupli-Color.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more great videos from Dupli-Color.